The next speaker on my list is Ms. Susana Legra, Councillor at the Embassy of Cuba. Ms. Legra, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, the failure to find a solution to the question of Palestine 70 years after the creation of the United Nations is a gross affront to the international community and a flagrant violation of the purposes and principles enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations. Far from achieving a political solution to this conflict, the Palestinian people continues to be a victim of the aggression of Israel, which occupied its land, destroyed its infrastructure, and killed its inhabitants. We all know that the slaughter perpetrated against the besieged and blockaded Gaza Strip last year provoked an unprecedented humanitarian crisis, which plunged that territory in terror, death, and massive destruction. We also know that the situation in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, demands urgent action to ensure full respect of international law and international humanitarian law. In contrast to the growing demand of the international community, Israel maintains its criminal occupation of Palestinian and other Arab territories, which constitutes the main obstacle to achieving a just and lasting peace in this region. Israel's colonizing practices contravene the resolutions of the United Nations, pose a threat to peace and regional and international security, and deprive the Palestinian people of its fundamental human rights. Nevertheless, the Security Council has abdicated its responsibilities under the Charter of the United Nations, since it has not preserved peace in that territory. It should demand that Israel cease its actions against the Palestinian people, hold Israel responsible for the crimes of aggression, collective punishment, and genocide committed against that people. The Security Council must fulfill its obligation to promote a negotiated solution that guarantees an end to the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territory, peaceful coexistence of the two independent states after the establishment of the independent, sovereign and viable state of Palestine, and a fair solution to the problem of Palestinian refugees in accordance with Resolution 194 of the General Assembly. We know that violence and the Israeli occupation will not cease while some states continue to provide weapons to Israel and threaten the Security Council to use their veto power. This undemocratic and ancient instrument that demonstrates the urgent need for a thorough reform of that main body of the United Nations. The situation in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, requires urgent action to ensure full respect of the international law and international humanitarian law. Mr. President, the Republic of Cuba reiterates its firm support and solidarity to the just cause of the Palestinian people, based on a position of principles clear and unambiguous in favor of its self-determination and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state based on the pre-167 borders, and with it Jerusalem as its capital. We strongly and determinedly support the admission of Palestine to full membership in the United Nations and its agencies, as has been requested by its legitimate authorities. We call on all members of the international community to fulfill the commitments made in the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip, following the atrocious bombing and massive destruction inflicted by Israel in July and August 2014, and work towards rebuilding that area. We strongly condemn the colonization campaign in the occupied Palestinian territories and all measures, policies, and practices associated with this campaign, including occupation, aggression, collective punishment, extrajudicial executions, excessive use of discriminated and brutal force, confiscation and colonization of the Palestinian land through massive settlements, the wall isolating entire communities, the transfers of hundreds of thousands of settlers, arbitrary detention and imprisonment of thousands of Palestinian civilians, including children, torture and other abuses against civilians, which are internationally banned, the destruction of homes and forced displacement of civilians are also among those infamous actions. Only the end of that colonial policy, the release of Palestinian prisoners, and the recognition of the illegitimate and inalienable right of the Palestinian people, including the right of return, will make possible the implementation of a fair political process leading to a lasting peace in the region. Allow me to conclude by reaffirming our unwavering solidarity with the Palestinian people and our determination to continue supporting it in its legitimate struggle for justice, dignity, peace, and in defense of its inalienable right to self-determination and sovereignty in the independent state of Palestine, with its Jerusalem as capital. Thanks you very much.
Mm-hmm.